huge foodie. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience that can relate. If there's one mantra that I would swear by right now, it's that I live to eat, not eat to live. Whether it's cooking food, eating food, baking food, or occasionally, to my mother's displeasure, burning food, food has been an integral part of my life. But there's one food that I've always despised: turmeric milk. See, this warm yellow concoction was something that my parents believed could cure anything, be it a sore throat, bad cough, climate change, the end of the world, whatnot. They believed that turmeric milk was the cure for it all. Of course, I was skeptical. I mean, how could something my very non-doctor parents concocted in our kitchen in under a minute possibly work better than something doctors, scientists had been spent years and thousands of dollars researching medicines in a lab? It didn't make sense to me. But as I progressed in my relationship with food, I started to notice differences. Different foods made me feel different types of ways. Some foods made me feel ultra-focused, while others made me feel like I had the processing power of a potato. And that's when it kind of clicked. Maybe the food that we eat doesn't just stay in our stomach or our digestive system. Maybe it goes on to impact other systems, specifically the brain. I mean, we all joke about being hangry sometimes, but maybe that isn't just a mood swing. It's biology, and it starts with the 6-7 trillions of bacteria living in your gut. And so, as I learned more in my biology classes and through my own independent research, I stopped seeing the body as a disorganized mess of separate systems working on their own, and rather as one interconnected system working together to make you who you are today. And that led me to question just how much of an impact our food really has, not just on our physical health, but our brain health. And that led me to ask the even bigger question. If food affects the gut, and the gut has the ability to impact the brain, then what if some diseases that we believe that originate in the brain, like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease, don't actually originate in the brain, but rather start in the gut? So last year, me and my friend conducted research on the neurodegenerative disease amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as ALS. ALS affects thousands of Americans every year, and it's characterized by the degeneration of motor neurons. Motor neurons are cells in the brain that deal with daily locomotive functions, everything from breathing to talking to walking, jogging, really your day-to-day functions. And people who have this disease are unable to do these day-to-day functions, significantly impacting their quality of life. And that was what our solution wanted to target. We wanted to see if we could use the electrical and molecular pathways in the body to reduce the progression of these diseases. And so specifically what we wanted to do was use non-invasive electrical stimulation to see if we could reduce the degeneration of these motor neurons, specifically targeting 3 regions of the brain: the brainstem, the motor cortex, and most specifically for the purpose of this talk, the vagus nerve. See, the vagus nerve was incredibly interesting to me because it reaffirmed suspicions that I had about how connected our brain was to our gut. Because the vagus nerve, contrary to what it sounds, isn't just one nerve, it's a group of nerves that connect the gut to the brain. And what was really exciting for me is that 80% of the signals that travel on this vagus nerve go from the gut to the brain, not the other way around. And that's really interesting, because new research is suggesting that various diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease and other neurodegenerative diseases might actually be a cause of microbial imbalances and gut inflammation, meaning that some of these diseases that we believe are due to the cause of evolutionary or genetic factors might actually have to do with your gut. And this made me wonder, if the gut could be so big of a problem in this aspect, maybe we could use it as a part of the solution. And that's what research is showing us. Research is showing us that by eating anti-inflammatory and foods high in antioxidants, we can actually reduce this gut inflammation and keep our gut healthy, which means that we can also protect our brain health, a certain degree. And although a lot of this research is preliminary, it's really important to understand that the solutions that are being suggested don't require thousands of dollars in medicines. It requires something as simple as changing the food on your plate. And when I understood how important the food that you eat could be, I started to realize that food should not be a privilege. It should be a universal given. And that's why I started Skyrise Sprouts, an organization that I started with my friend committed to reducing food insecurity in the Louisville community. Currently, 1 in 7 Louisville members are facing food insecurity, a 48% increase from the last 2 years, according to data from the Dare to Care Food Bank. And so we set out to solve this problem, not with lots of infrastructure, high tech, or a lot of money, just with a little bit of creativity. And that's how Skyrise Sprouts was born. Skyrise Sprouts utilizes empty spaces in classrooms. Things like the nooks and crannies that are often left empty, we can actually use to grow plants using vertical farming systems. Unlike traditional agriculture, vertical farming systems don't grow horizontally, they grow vertically. And this is incredibly sustainable because it reduces the amount of water needed and requires no soil, making them mess-free and really easy to implement in our classrooms. So the system that you see in this image can actually house 20 to 25 plants just in that small area alone. So think about what we do in whole schools or school systems. All the food that we grow in these systems is actually going to a local soup kitchen in the Louisville area that we've partnered with, so that they can take this healthy and nutritious food and incorporate it into their meals, spreading the idea of healthy eating to everyone in the Louisville community. But we didn't just want to stop at healthy food. We wanted to educate people about healthy eating and make it a more widespread thing. And so what better place to do that than education centers themselves? So when we started setting up our first systems in schools, we had a ton of students come up to us and ask about, hey, what are these systems? What did they do? And that was an amazing platform for us to talk about sustainable agriculture and encourage them to grow their own foods from the comfort of their own home on a budget. See, Skyrise Sprouts and ALS research were hinting at the same things, just from 2 different ways. They were telling me that whether it's neurons or neighborhoods, small changes in the right places can create ripples throughout systems. So as I begin wrapping up my talk, I really want to circle back to something I told you at the beginning, turmeric milk. See, turmeric milk was something that I thought was too small, too ordinary, too insignificant to really have an impact on different processes. But if there's one thing that I've realized, it's that the small things have the greatest impact. Whether it's a tiny neuron affecting networks in our body, a small shift in our gut, creating changes in the way our brain works, or small hydroponic and vertical farming systems tucked away into classrooms, changing the way a community approaches food. My ALS research and Skyrise Sprouts taught me the same thing from 2 different angles, and they helped me find my greater purpose. Using science not just to better understand the world, but to actively shape it. I mean, science isn't just happening in labs, and innovation doesn't have to come from multi-million-dollar organizations. It can start with something simple, something unexpected, something ordinary, something as small as the food on your plate, or even just a tall glass of turmeric milk.